Howdy, folks, and welcome back. It's May 4th, 2020, and this is day 48 of the self-quarantine here in the state of Washington. We have the quarantine has been extended up until May 31st with restrictions beginning to ease mid-month. So we'll see how that goes. My hope is that they will, on May 31st, open up the state and everything will be ready to go. And the reason I hope that is if they do that, that means the coronavirus has gone away. But I don't think it's really going to completely go away, and things aren't going to go back to normal for a very long time. We need to have our masks and our gloves and do all the things we need to do to keep this from spreading. Recently I did a video on this area, and I did concentrate on this area that we're looking at here in the distance. But I did kind of a quick job, and I really felt I needed to get in there, get closer, and get some better pics in there. And I'm glad I did, because it's turned out to be quite a surprising place. Surprising place, right? And that's the way it always is. You never stop getting surprised. And all the time I say, well, I'm not surprised. Well, I'm surprised when I find something, but when I look at it and it's huge, I'm not surprised. You know what I mean? It's that kind of a thing. I'm continually surprised at the stuff that we find. And I sure didn't expect, looking way, way back in the distance, to find what looks like huge ships downed, creating these hills. And we're starting by looking at the one way in the background there. It's dark in color, and has a big piece of I would say that strip of metal or sheet metal, or these strips I keep talking about. That one is sticking up. But if you look right in the center of the screen, you'll see a dark triangle, and at the very tip of that triangle it goes down and meets the end of something on the surface right there, and it looks like a vessel. And the part that's closest to that tip of that dark triangle looks like almost as if the ship, you're looking at the skeleton of that ship in the back. And this is just a little one for sure, compared to all the other ones around there. It's very, very small, and the shape of it kind of reminds me of the Star Wars starfighter. And that reminds me, I've been talking a lot about Star Wars, and boy, I got to tell you, I went back and looked at some of the Star Wars videos and some of the pictures of their spacecraft when they're in space and they're having these big battles. And you'll never guess what, and maybe you knew this already, but you'll never guess what. All of those big ships that they're fighting these battles with are triangular. Can you freaking believe that? If I can get those pictures online without copyright, I'm going to show you some comparisons. But I'll tell you what, as time goes on, these Star Wars videos are being proved out. They are actually being proved out. I swear somebody had inside knowledge. It just seems too coincidental. Now here's a great big craft right here in front of us, and the bottom right of the screen is where it came down on the ground, and the front of it is destroyed. And you can see the windows going across, these lines going across are like, what do you call it, an observation deck, maybe, shall we say. And also at the very top of this vessel, there's a thing up there. And at first, when I first looked at it, I couldn't tell what it was. But now, to me, it looks like there is a gun turret there that's sticking out from underneath that little black area. And now, this is the side of that vessel, and you can see the sort of checkerboard squares on it. These are the individual plates of metal that go on to create the hull of this ship. But the dark thing on top is something else that came down on top of this thing. And that's kind of the way it is all throughout all these pictures, all the bluff pictures. It's vessels down on top of vessels on top of vessels, because there were so many of them up there. When they came down and piled up. It seems crazy, and that reminds me, like I said before, all of the things I say seem so preposterous. They seem so almost childish, stupid. But you have to open your mind and closely look at the the evidence, and you can't help but to come to that conclusion. Here's an unusual item down here on the lower part. Gosh, I don't. It must be the part of a vessel, but it's very distinct in its shape on the bottom part, and yet on the top part it's rather indistinct. Now here is this white thing here is another vessel, and it's not the ones we're here to talk about today, but this is the type of vessel we've seen over and over and over. They're very, very, very long, cigarette shaped with a pointy nose, and when they come down, they come down and they get all bent around, and they end up with weird shapes like that. But up above that is another vessel. It's actually guess what? It's a triangular vessel. You can just make out the tail fins on it. I need to go back and take a look at that. And then in the way direct in the back, there's up on top is another vessel. It's so far away I really couldn't get the resolution that we needed to do us any good. So I'm just leaving it at this distance here. But it's something else that's falling apart. Everything here we're talking about, in my opinion, are many millions of years old. And I have reasons for that, for saying that, and you might wonder how on earth I can sit down here and say this is many millions of years old. Again, it comes from previous videos, trying to look at the bluffs and compare them to the bluffs in the United States. Anyway, you'll have to go back and look at that. There's the last 10 or 15 videos have been really revealing. I think very interesting, and a learning process for myself, and I think anybody who watches them. But this is another very large vessel, and it's got something coming in from the 3 o'clock position, a little nose thingy on it there. I don't know what that is. Again, you can see the windows or the observation areas, but they're all kind of messed up. This thing came down pretty hard, I guess. But there are, 4 very large vessels here, and a smattering of small ones. And, whoever would have thought to look way back there and pull out pictures like that? Once again, we can thank the Gigapans. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.